What was the biggest scam you ever fell for? There was a company advertising that they would help people wipe out predatory student loans. Long story short, I blew $800 on a company that got shut down by the govt for fraudulent practices and was denied a refund. Not 100% sure I got scammed, but 99.99% sure I got scammed over baby formula. I was at the grocery store and some guy speaking broken English came up to me with a sob story about losing his job and having a baby with the special diet and needing to feed him. It felt odd right off the bat, but having just become a dad myself, I felt compassionate enough to begrudgingly agree after he said he didn't want money, he just needed someone to buy some formula. I walked him to the self-checkout and he scans all his stuff. The total was like $350. I looked at the total, looked at him, and he pulls the think of the baby card, so I swiped my card. He tried to take the receipt at the end, but I said since it was my card I'd keep it. As I walked away to finish my shopping, I noticed he was lingering. I took a lap around one of the aisles. He was still there but talking to the self-checkout supervisor. He has her do something at the checkout we used and then he finally leaves. I was just gonna let it go, but I had a gut feeling something seemed off, so I went up to the supervisor and asked what the gentleman needed. She said he claimed his receipt didn't print and needed a copy. That's when I figured it out. Mofo was gonna return it all and ask for it on a GC. I was so annoyed I didn't even finish shopping. An email something like, "Your PayPal has been accessed from an unknown source. Click here to update your password." It looked official and asked for me to log in to update my password. When I realized the website didn't allow me to view my profile, I panicked. I then spent the day taking the necessary precautions. Lesson: always go to the website yourself and don't click links in emails. I wouldn't say I fell for it, but while walking around Tokyo I was stopped by this monk who explained that he was traveling the country on foot and asked for a monetary donation. When it was clear I'd help him out, he pulls out a money book and shows me what people generally give him and to write my name down next to them along with the money amount. It was full of big numbers clearly going into the hundreds and thousands of dollars. It's implied that I should match those donations, otherwise I'm clearly not a good person. Realized it was an immediate scam, and a very obvious one. He then waits for me to pay up and I gave him the equivalent of $5. 500 yen. He kinda looked at me like I just insulted him and I walked away. I checked Google later that night and apparently he was a well-known scammer in the area. Made a topic about it at the time and seems I'm not the only person. https://www.japanguide.com/forum/career display.html?0+118849. My former best friend and his dad cheated me out of my money to invest in their company. When I asked for a contract, his dad said, "Between true friends, words aren't necessary." When they started making money, I asked for my money back, and they said they didn't owe me a thing. Not me, but a good friend of mine. She's the type of person who splits the cost of dinner down to the penny. No joke. She's one of those the wings were $9.99 a dozen, so that's 83 cents each. And I had two, so put $1.66 on my tab kind of people. I once witnessed a near knockdown, drag-out fight with her then roommate over the half of a cent the roommate owed for monthly bills. The roommate had to leave for a family event and just wanted to write the damn check and go. My friend insisted on going through her check register to see if the roommate had rounded up or down the previous month to make it fair, so it was kind of surprising that she fell for the white van speaker scam. In 2008, there was a member on most auto forums I was on who advertised the racing business. A few people had dealt with him and said he was great. I contacted him, Asked him to get me pricing for some expensive parts. His pricing came back great, so I sent him payment and waited. Nothing. I called him and he gave me the runaround, claiming his supplier was going to drop ship to me. Nothing. I kept contacting him over and over, and he eventually stopped answering my calls. One of the forums started a call-out thread for the guy, since he ghosted a bunch of members after taking their orders. His website even went down. I used the payment info to track the guy down, and verified it with his public county tax records. Another forum member tracked him down on a home improvement forum where he was bragging about all of these expensive home updates he was doing. Eventually, he sent me half of my order after I asked if any forum members lived near him. Several showed up at his doorstep and threatened to beat the crap out of him if he didn't make good on his orders to everyone. I never got the rest, and he told me that if my friends ever showed up again, he'd shoot them and then hunt me down too. I told him to try. He told me off, and that was the last I ever heard of him. Screw that guy. Edit just googled the guy's name and his business. Looks like he is up to his same old crap again. What a loser. I went to buy a Rolling Stones ticket from a scalper years ago. I know, and he talked me into a VIP backstage pass. He said that's all I need, free food, booze, all the perks. He insisted the sticker was all I needed to get in, no paper ticket necessary. So a few hours later I go to the show, obviously can't get in. It was a VIP pass from the night before. There was no date on it, just a different shape. I try every single gate hoping someone won't notice, not care, and finally tried the media entrance. The nice lady ushered me right in. I took an elevator up to the main concourse and I was free as a bird. I didn't have a seat, obviously, but I snuck down to the floor and ended up having a great show. Still feel burned by the stupid fuck to this day though. I've seen him at other shows. Nice neck tattoo of a fish. You fucking prick. And I always fuck with him. Thanks for listening. A year ago, I'm 17 now, I wanted to get into the stock market and met someone online through a mutual online friend who was old enough to open a broker. I did all the research and, at the height of Corona, I invested $3,000, all my savings, into a stock that eventually multiplied. Guy took my money and the profits and both ended up blocking me skeptical. I got played by someone at the mall in Portland. It was around Christmas and I was doing some Christmas shopping and this well-dressed dude came up to me in sort of a panic saying he'd had his bag stolen with his wallet in it and he needed help cashing a check so he could finish his Christmas shopping. My dumb ass agreed to cash a $600 check and the dude gave me $50 for helping him out. I went home feeling like I'd done a good deed. But a week or so later the bank hit me up and told me I'd cashed a check from a closed account and I was liable for the deficit, plus fees. That's what I get for trying to be nice to a stranger, I suppose. Anytime I bought a car, I feel like car dealerships, salesmen are literally just there to scam you of money. Why are these things negotiable? And if you're not good at negotiating, you just get utterly scammed trying to buy one. There should be standard pricing for everyone. I should be able to go in and get a car with the same ease and speed of going into a Costco and buying a TV. I almost got phished. This was almost 20 years ago when it wasn't even called that. I got an email that my eBay account had been compromised. Click on this link to reset your password. I filled everything out and was mere seconds away from hitting submit when I suddenly realized it looked off. I don't exactly remember what tipped me off. I think something that looked like a field was actually a JPEG and then I double-checked the domain and it was something weird. Well, that sometimes happens. But I backed out, went to my actual eBay account and just changed my password there. A little digging and it was a new scam circulating the internet, which at the time it was. Edit. Hey, guys, thanks for the advice. But this was 20 years ago. I know how to avoid them now. As I mentioned, this was all new at the time. In RuneScape, a random friendly player lead me to this random building with a cool object. I've long forgotten what the object is, and I picked up the object. I was promptly killed by a trap set on this object. The other player stole all my loot. Answered a classified ad for one of those entry-level advertising, PR management jobs. Got an interview, which was pretty vague about what the job actually entailed. Invited to the second interview, which was an all-day shadowing of a current employee. What they did all day was door-to-door coupon sales. I probably should have turned and run after that, but the people I was shadowing swore up and down that I'd only be in the field for the first 2 weeks, just so I could understand what the salespeople do, and would work in the office after that. Based on that, I took the job. In my defense, this was in 1996. There was no Glassdoor or anything where I could check this company out. I slogged it out in this field for 2 weeks. I hated it and was bad as it. It also didn't help that they sent me to some really sketchy neighborhoods. The third week rolled around and nobody had said anything about when I'd start working in the office, so I asked one of the team leaders about it. He gave me this odd look and told me that everyone works in the field. The only person who got to work in the office and didn't have to go into the field was the owner. That's the only job I've ever walked out on. These people called me with one of HMRC numbers telling me I didn't pay some taxes, saying they sent lots of letters to my old address to which I never responded. I didn't know they could make me see the number they wanted. After a quick check on the government website, I saw that the number was the same and I believed them. I was 20 and living in London on my own. I gave them £1,000 and never felt so stupid in my life. A few years ago I was drinking heavily while on anxiety medication, got both monkeys off my back since, and had a lot of free time to play video games. Somehow I managed to waste hundreds of bucks on microtransactions in Bat2K when I was out of it. I had a wicked good my team at the end of it, but they seemed to structure their transactions to appeal to impulsive kids and otherwise compromised people. Not too bad, I lost 35 bucks. I fell for those stores on Instagram. I was just getting on it, so I didn't know most were scam stores, because I followed some small retailers that I already bought from. I thought it was the same thing. Website was or looked legit, but I never got my boots. Smart too, because I got it from them because they were 15 bucks cheaper, not some crazy amount that made you question it. Luckily I paid with PayPal. It could have been worse if they had my credit card information. You know those phone scams where people pretend to be from Microsoft or some other computer company? Well, I didn't know they were scams when I was in elementary school, but was allowed to talk to people on the phone. So I actually talked to the scammer for a while, writing stuff down and taking him seriously. Fortunately, I called my mom on my cell phone in the middle of it to tell her about it and ask her what to do, and she told me to shut the computer off. No harm done in the end. Parents, teach your kids about scammers. Me and my dad go into Walmart to buy some groceries. We come out and load them into the truck, and the truck won't start. Never had problems with the truck before this. My dad is getting frustrated as we have chilled food with us and it's summer. Suddenly, a homeless man on a bike rolls up and asks what the problem was. My dad explains that he has no idea, his truck just won't start. Guy asks to take a look. Guy gets under the truck and in 10 seconds comes back out. He told my dad he found the problem. A small part was missing on his truck. Me and my dad are dipshits when it comes to cars, so I can't remember what part he said. Also, I was 10. The man said he just so happened to have the same part in his bag of knickknacks. Said if he gave him $50 he'd put it on for him. My dad, excited, agreed. The man went under the truck. Another 10 seconds pops back up, says give it a try. Truck starts no problem. My dad thanks the man so much and then gives him another $40 for his trouble. It was only on he ride home that I brought it up to my dad. You're telling me none of that seemed off too? Random homeless man rides up just in time with just the right part we need. It finally hits my dad and he turns around to find the guy, but he was long gone. At one point I had created an email address and put out some business cards for house sitting/pet sitting/cleaning. Someone emailed me pretending to be moving from Australia to my little US Midwest town and wanted to pay me like $3,000 to help them get settled. They sent me a check and everything, tried to get me to deposit it right away, but my bank was closed and the ATM wouldn't take it. After I was an idiot and already tried depositing it, I looked at the check and saw it was a business check, googled the business, and it wasn't even located in my state, called them, and of course they weren't affiliated with the person. I sent a strongly worded email to the person, and then over the next couple months got 3 more similarly worded scam emails from different addresses, but clearly the same person. It made me feel really dumb that I fell for it, and would have lost $3,000 if not for that lovely ATM. Last winter during my Christmas shopping, a kid outside the mall was asking for donations for his basketball team to go to an out-of-town tournament. Turns out that was a lie and saw him on the news later. I gave him $1. My demo idiot boss tried to buy property from a fake realtor and gave a scammer $10,000. Guy never got caught. I think about that sometimes and smile. A few years ago when my college football team was in the national championship, I almost gave a scammer $1,500 for tickets, but my bullshit detectors started going off. Back in the early 2000s, home computers were becoming more common and our family saved up to get one. Because of the surge of home computers, tons of scams started emerging. After a year or so of owning a computer, it started to slow down, so we fell for the faster computer scam where you pay $35 to a website and you download a fake program to make your computer run faster. It didn't do shit. I went to a tiny fair in a mall parking lot with a few of my friends 2 years ago, and one of my goals was to win a tiny stuffed animal for my boyfriend. I came up to this booth that guaranteed the prize every time, even if I lose, and the man gestured to all the small stuffed animals on display. So of course, I thought I was getting one of those. I win a prize as guaranteed. But this dude pulled out his stinky little emoji plush that was maybe 3 inches in diameter and gave it to me with a sly smirk. I wasn't that happy, but I wasn't going to fight either. What a scam. Luckily though, I was walking around and saw a tiny stuffed animal that happened to be my boyfriend's favorite animal. I asked if I could trade my stupid emoji for it, and the guy said yes. He probably couldn't care less, but at least he was nice. Always ask which prize you'd win. Back in 2006, I was 9. Player-owned houses were released on RuneScape. My older brother had a friend that invited me to his house and told me if I put my granite maul on the table that it would glow. I was intrigued and did it. I promptly got kicked out of the house and lost my granite maul. Heartbreak. A few years ago I moved away from home and got my first job. One day I went to the bank to pull cash out to buy an iPhone from someone on Craigslist. When I was pulling into the parking lot, a van pulled in behind me. Then when I parked and got out, they called me over. They said for their job they install TVs and projectors in restaurants and bars, and that they ordered too many for that day and wanted to get rid of them for cheap. Then they showed me a catalog showing what all their TVs and projectors were worth. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll just get them and resell them on eBay or something. They said whatever I could pay for it they'd take. So one of the guys followed me over to the ATM outside the bank and I pulled out $1,000. He then asked if I could pay $1,500. I reached the limit on the ATM, so I went inside and pulled out 500 more. I gave it to them and they helped me load the stuff in my car. I got home and started looking up model numbers, and the only results coming up were articles talking about scams. I felt so stupid and gullible. I guess I had to learn one way or another that no stranger is your friend. Lamau.